Dr. Samantha Wright adjusted her navy blue diplomatic uniform as she stared out the viewport of the shuttle approaching Proxima Station. The massive structure glittered like a jewel against the backdrop of space, its spiraling arms stretching out for kilometers. After 6 months of travel, humanity's first diplomatic team was finally arriving at the headquarters of the Galactic Council. 15 minutes to docking, announced the pilot over the intercom. Samantha glanced at her tablet, reviewing her notes one last time. Earth had achieved faster-than-light travel just 5 years ago, and in that short time, they had established colonies on 3 habitable worlds. Their rapid progress had caught the attention of the Council, a federation of 12 advanced alien species that governed most of the known galaxy. Lieutenant John Carter stood beside her, his military posture rigid even after the long journey. As head of security, he had handpicked the small team of guards accompanying the diplomatic mission. "Something doesn't feel right about this, Dr. Wright," he said quietly. "You've been saying that since we left Earth," Samantha replied with a small smile. "The Council invited us. They want to discuss trade agreements and cultural exchange." Then why did they wait until we had already established colonies? Why not contact us right after we achieved FTL capability? Before Samantha could respond, the shuttle shuddered slightly as the docking clamps engaged. Through the viewport, she could see the massive entry bay of Proxima Station. Alien ships of various designs were arranged in neat rows, their hulls displaying markings she couldn't read. The diplomatic team, consisting of 6 humans including Samantha and John, gathered their materials and prepared to disembark. As the airlock cycled, Samantha took a deep breath. Years of training in xenodiplomacy had prepared her for this moment, but nothing could fully ready someone for humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council. The airlock doors opened to reveal 2 tall, blue-skinned humanoids waiting to greet them. Their elongated heads and 4-fingered hands marked them as Illyrians, one of the founding species of the Council. "Welcome to Proxima Station," the taller Illyrian said in perfect English. "I am Chief Diplomat Verix. We are honored to receive Earth's representatives." Samantha stepped forward and bowed slightly, following the protocol they had been sent. "The honor is ours, Chief Diplomat. I am Dr. Samantha Wright, lead representative of Earth's diplomatic corps." As they were led through the station's corridors, Samantha noticed John's eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. The walls were made of a pearlescent material that seemed to shift colors as they walked, and various alien species moved about their business, some barely glancing at the humans while others stopped to stare openly. The delegation was shown to their quarters, a suite of rooms that had been modified to accommodate human needs. "The Council will convene in 3 hours," Verix informed them. "Please use this time to refresh yourselves and prepare for the meeting." Once they were alone, John immediately began checking the rooms for surveillance devices. Samantha started to protest but decided to let him do his job. She used the time to review the profiles of the Council species one more time. 2 hours later, as Samantha was making final preparations, John burst into her room. His face was pale. "Dr. Wright, you need to see this." He held up his tablet, showing a decoded transmission he had intercepted. Samantha's eyes widened as she read the message. It was from an unknown source to one of the Council species, discussing weapon shipments to a group of pirates that had been attacking Earth's colonial supply lines. "This can't be right," Samantha whispered. "Why would the Council be arming our enemies?" "It gets worse," John said, scrolling to another decoded message. "Look at the date on this one. They've been watching us for decades, long before we achieved spaceflight. They've been deliberately containing our growth." Samantha sank into a chair, her mind racing. All their assumptions about this meeting had been wrong. The Council hadn't invited them to welcome humanity into the galactic community. They viewed humans as a threat. A chime sounded, indicating it was time to head to the Council chambers. Samantha stood, straightening her uniform. "We need to be careful about how we handle this," she said. "If we confront them directly, we'll lose any advantage we might have. For now, we play along." "And then?" John asked. And then we find out exactly what they're planning and why they're so afraid of us. The walk to the council chambers felt longer than it should have. They passed through security checkpoints where alien devices scanned them, and Samantha noticed how the guards' hands never strayed far from their weapons. The council chamber itself was enormous, with a circular platform in the center for visiting delegations. 12 raised seats surrounded the platform, each occupied by a representative of a different species. The chamber rose several stories high, with observation galleries filled with various alien diplomats and officials. As Samantha led her team onto the platform, she looked up at the council members. Their faces were impossible to read. Some species didn't even have recognizable facial features, but she could feel the tension in the room. The head of the council, a crystalline being known as a Zexthor, spoke first. Its words were translated by an automated system. Representatives of Earth, you stand before the Council of Stars. We have watched your species' progress with great interest. More like great concern, John muttered under his breath. Samantha stepped forward. We are grateful for this opportunity to join the galactic community, she said, choosing her words carefully. Earth looks forward to peaceful cooperation and exchange with all species. The Zexthor's crystalline surface rippled slightly. We have received reports of rapid expansion by your species. 3 colonies established in 5 years is unprecedented. We are an ambitious people, Samantha replied. But we respect galactic law and seek only to grow peacefully. A reptilian council member leaned forward. Yet your military vessels escort every colonial ship. Why is this necessary if your intentions are peaceful? We have suffered attacks from pirates, Samantha said, watching their reactions carefully. We must protect our people. The council members exchanged looks. The Allurian representative spoke next. Perhaps if humans showed more restraint in their expansion, such protection would not be necessary. The meaning was clear. It was a threat wrapped in diplomatic language. Samantha felt her heart racing, but kept her voice steady. We would be very interested in discussing security cooperation against these pirates. Perhaps the Council has intelligence about their origins. The slight shift in posture among several council members confirmed John's evidence. They knew exactly where the pirates came from because they were the ones supporting them. The meeting continued for 2 more hours, a careful dance of words and hidden meanings. When it was over, Samantha led her team back to their quarters, her mind already working on their next move. They're going to try to stop us, John said once they were alone. The question is how. Samantha nodded, looking out at the stars through their quarters viewport. We need to get a warning back to Earth, but they'll be monitoring all our communications. She turned to face her team. Ladies and gentlemen, our mission has changed. We're no longer here to establish diplomatic relations. We're here to uncover the truth and find out why the most powerful forces in the galaxy see humanity as a threat. As she spoke, a distant ship exploded in a flash of light outside their viewport. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. And we need to do it fast, John added, because I don't think they're planning to play nice much longer. Samantha watched as emergency vehicles rushed toward the explosion site. She had come to Proxima Station, hoping to secure humanity's place among the stars. Instead, she had discovered that humanity was already caught in a war they didn't even know they were fighting. The real question was, could they survive long enough to expose the truth? Amanda Peters sat in her dimly lit office at Earth Intelligence Headquarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from across human space. As Director of Earth Intelligence, she had spent the last 3 months piecing together a disturbing pattern that stretched back centuries. The quantum message from Dr. Wright's team at Proxima Station had arrived encrypted in a routine trade report. It confirmed what Amanda had begun to suspect. The Galactic Council saw humanity as a threat and had been working against Earth's interests long before first contact. Display Timeline Alpha, she commanded, and a new hologram appeared before her. It showed major conflicts throughout Earth's history, with new data points added from alien records they'd managed to decrypt. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Come in. Major William Hayes entered, looking tired but alert. He'd just returned from a classified mission to Mars. "Director, you need to see this." He placed a small container on her desk. Inside was what appeared to be a metallic sphere about the size of a tennis ball. "We found it buried in the Valles Marineris," William explained. "Carbon dating puts it at over 10,000 years old. It's definitely Council tech, and it's still active." Amanda picked up the sphere carefully. "A monitoring device. More than that, it's been transmitting data about Earth all this time. We've found evidence of hundreds more scattered across Mars. They've been watching us since before we invented agriculture." Amanda leaned back in her chair, processing this information. "So the Council's containment strategy isn't new. They'd been manipulating our development for thousands of years." She pulled up another hologram, this one showing recent attacks on Earth's colonies. Red dots marked where supply ships had been hit by pirates. The pattern was clear. Every attack had targeted shipments that would have allowed the colonies to become more self-sufficient. "Major, what's the status of the Mars excavation?" she asked. "We've secured the site and established a cover story about geological research. But there's something else." William brought up his own datapad. "We found references to something called Project Seabreak in the device's data cache. It seems to be related to human genetics." Before Amanda could respond, her emergency communicator buzzed. "Director, we've lost contact with New Haven Colony," a voice reported urgently. "All communications went dark 5 minutes ago." Amanda quickly brought up the colony's location on her display. New Haven was their newest settlement, just established 6 months ago. "Any ships in range?" "The U.S. Constellation is 3 hours away at maximum speed." "Send them in, full combat alert," Amanda ordered. She turned to William. "This is it. They're not being subtle anymore." William nodded grimly. "Should we inform the public?" "Not yet. First, we need to understand what we're really dealing with." Amanda stood and walked to the window overlooking Washington, D.C. For centuries, they'd been containing us through proxy wars, engineered conflicts, and carefully placed obstacles. But why? What are they so afraid of? She turned back to her desk and activated a secure channel to Earth's Defense Command. "This is Director Peters. Implement Protocol Omega. We're going to war." Over the next 24 hours, humanity's military mobilized with quiet efficiency. Ships were recalled from patrol, colonies were placed on high alert, and hidden defense installations that had been prepared in secret began powering up. Amanda worked through the night, coordinating with military commanders and colonial governors. The data from Mars had provided them with crucial information about Council technology, including weaknesses they hadn't known about before. At dawn, William returned with more news. "Director, we've decoded more of the alien database. It's not just monitoring devices on Mars. They'd had similar installations on every planet in our solar system. But here's the interesting part. Most of them stopped transmitting about 50 years ago." Amanda frowned. "Around the time we started serious space exploration, they didn't want us finding them." "Exactly. But that's not all." William brought up a new set of data. The genetic research they were doing. It wasn't about controlling us. The data suggests they were studying how we were changing. Changing? How? According to these readings, human neural patterns have been becoming more complex, generation after generation. We're evolving, and it's happening faster than it should be. Amanda's communicator buzzed again. The U.S. Constellation had reached New Haven Colony. The report made her blood run cold. "The colony's intact," she said to William, "but every human is gone. No signs of violence, no bodies. They've been taken." William's face hardened, a clear message from the Council. "Cooperate or more colonies disappear." "No," Amanda said, studying the report more closely. "This is something else. Look at these energy readings. Whatever they used to take our people, it required enormous power. They wouldn't waste resources just sending a message." She quickly brought up more displays, correlating data from multiple sources. The genetic research, the monitoring, now this. They're not just afraid of us expanding into space. They're afraid of what we're becoming. William leaned in to study the data. The council species, they're all stable. No significant evolution for millions of years. But humans, we're still changing, still adapting. Amanda finished. And they don't know what we might turn into. A new alert flashed on her screen. More council ships had been detected entering the solar system. The Galactic Council was done with subtle manipulation. Now they were moving openly against Earth. Amanda sent out a series of coded commands to Earth's hidden defense fleet. Major, get this data to every research facility we have. If we're evolving, I want to know how and why. And get me everything we have on council biology. There has to be a reason they're so scared of change. As William left to carry out her orders, Amanda sent one more message to Dr. Wright at Proxima Station. The council thought they were containing a potential threat. Instead, they had pushed humanity into a corner. And now they would learn why that was a dangerous mistake. She looked again at the mysterious sphere from Mars, thinking about how long the council had been watching, waiting, and interfering. They had tried to guide human development down safe, predictable paths. But in doing so, they had created exactly what they feared, a species that had learned to thrive under pressure, to adapt to challenges, and to survive against all odds. The next signal from her emergency communicator wasn't unexpected. Council ships were moving into attack positions. The long shadow war was about to become very real. Amanda Peters, Director of Earth Intelligence, sent out her final orders of the day. Humanity had been preparing for this moment without even knowing it. Now it was time to show the galaxy why evolution favored the adaptable. As ships across the solar system moved into defensive positions, she allowed herself a small smile. The Council had spent thousands of years trying to keep humanity contained and predictable. They were about to learn just how badly that plan had failed. The war for human independence was about to begin, but the truth behind it was far stranger than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just about territory or resources or power. It was about the future of evolution itself and humanity's unique place in the galaxy's great story. Amanda picked up the sphere one more time, studying its ancient surface. "You watched us for 10,000 years," she murmured. "Now it's our turn to watch you." Outside her window, the sun was rising over Washington, D.C. It would be the last peaceful sunrise for a long time. But when the dust settled, the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Lisa Moore stood on the bridge of her stealth ship, the Shadowhawk, watching as her crew quietly prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. Hidden in the dark space beyond Pluto's orbit, they were about to attempt something no human ship had tried before. "All systems dark," her first officer reported. "We're running on minimal power. They won't see us unless they trip right over us." Lisa nodded, studying the tactical display. 3 massive Council warships hung in space, 5,000 kilometers away, their sensors sweeping for any sign of human activity. They were part of the blockade that had been trying to cut Earth off from its colonies for the past month. "Status of the quantum shield?" she asked. Dr. Christopher Shaw looked up from his console. The physicist had been working on this technology for 5 years, but this was its first real test. "Shield is stable but untested at these power levels. We'll only get one shot at this." Lisa touched the small medallion she wore under her uniform, a gift from her father, who had died when the Council's pirates attacked his transport ship. "That's all we need. Begin Operation Starlight." The Shadowhawk's experimental engines powered up silently, using Dr. Shaw's quantum technology to hide their energy signature. The ship slipped between the Council warships like a ghost, its hull barely visible even to the naked eye. Their target lay another 1,000 kilometers ahead, a secret Council supply base built into a large asteroid. Intelligence suggested it contained the coordinates of other hidden Council installations, including wherever they had taken the people from New Haven Colony. "Multiple ships detected," her sensor officer reported quietly. "Standard patrol pattern. Time to closest approach, 3 minutes." Lisa had handpicked her crew for this mission. They were all survivors of Council attacks. All had lost family or friends to the aliens' secret war against humanity. Now they were about to strike back. "Launch probes," she ordered. Tiny sensor drones, no bigger than baseballs, shot out from the Shadowhawk's hull. They would map the base's defenses and find them a way in. The crew waited in tense silence as data began flowing back. "Captain," Dr. Shaw called out suddenly, "the quantum readings from that base, they're off the scale. They're using some kind of technology we've never seen before." Before Lisa could respond, alarms blared. "Council ships changing course." The sensor officer reported. "They've detected something." "The probes." "No, something else. Multiple contacts appearing from FTL. They're ours." Lisa's tactical display lit up as human warships burst into real space all around them. The Council ships were caught completely by surprise as Earth's hidden fleet revealed itself. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen." A voice crackled over the secure channel. "Operation Starburst is go. Captain Moore, you have your opening. Make it count." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. The fleet attack was a diversion, but the Council wouldn't know that. While their ships engaged in the first major battle of the war, the Shadowhawk would complete its real mission. "Take us in," she ordered. Full stealth. The ship glided toward the asteroid base as chaos erupted around them. Human ships were using unorthodox tactics, splitting into smaller groups and attacking from multiple angles, keeping the Council forces off balance. "They're not fighting like we expected," Lisa's tactical officer noted. "Our ships are faster but less powerful, so they're using that speed to confuse them." "Humans are good at adapting," Dr. Shaw said. "It's what the Council fears most about us." The Shadowhawk reached the asteroid base's outer perimeter undetected. Close up, they could see that it was much larger than expected, with huge hangar bays carved into the rock. Finding an entry point, the helm officer reported. "There, maintenance airlock on the dark side." Lisa studied the scans. "Too easy. They'll have it guarded." "Not if we make our own door," Dr. Shaw suggested. "The quantum shield can be modified to create a small breach in their hull. We can slip through before their systems detect the loss of atmosphere." It was risky, but then everything about this mission was risky. Lisa gave the order, and the Shadowhawk moved into position against the asteroid's surface. Dr. Shaw's calculations proved correct. The quantum shield created a small, silent hole in the base's hull, and the ship's boarding team slipped through before emergency force fields could activate. Lisa led the team herself, moving quickly through the alien corridors. The base's internal layout was strange, with curved walls and shifting gravity fields, but they had trained for this. They encountered their first Council security team 3 minutes in. The aliens were tall, crystalline beings similar to the Zexthor Lisa had seen in briefings. Their energy weapons fired, but the quantum shields built into the humans' armor absorbed the hits. "Non-lethal takedowns only," Lisa ordered. "We need prisoners for interrogation." Her team used stun weapons developed from captured Council technology. The crystalline aliens fell quickly, their bodies humming in some kind of suspended animation. The deeper they went into the base, the stranger it became. They passed laboratories filled with exotic equipment and holding cells sized for human occupants. "Captain," one of her team called out, "you need to see this." In a large central chamber, they found hundreds of stasis pods, each sized to hold a human being. They were empty, but recently used. "They were here," Lisa said quietly. "The people from New Haven Colony. But where did they take them?" Dr. Shaw was scanning the alien computers. "Captain, these readings, they weren't just holding humans here. They were studying them, looking for something in their genetic code." Before they could investigate further, new alarms sounded. Multiple Council ships entering the system. Lisa's communicator crackled. "The fleet can't hold them off much longer." "Download everything," Lisa ordered. "Plant the quantum charges. We're leaving." They fought their way back to the Shadowhawk. the base's security forces now fully alert. But the Council aliens seemed more interested in protecting certain areas than stopping them completely. They're hiding something bigger than this base, Lisa realized. This was just one piece of a larger operation. Once back aboard, the Shadowhawk slipped away as the quantum charges detonated, destroying the asteroid base. The human fleet was already retreating, having accomplished its goal of protecting their real mission. In her quarters later, Lisa studied the data they'd stolen. Most of it was encrypted, but one file was clear. A star map showing dozens of similar bases throughout Council space. The war isn't just about stopping our expansion, she said to Dr. Shaw. They're studying us, experimenting on us. But why? Perhaps, he suggested, we should be less concerned with why they're studying us, and more concerned with what they've discovered. Lisa looked at the map again, thinking of the empty stasis pods and the strange laboratories. The Council wasn't just fighting a war against humanity's expansion into space. They were fighting a war against human potential itself. And somewhere out there, in one of those hidden bases, were the answers they needed. The missing colonists, the truth about human evolution, and possibly the key to winning a war humanity never knew it was already fighting. Plot a course to the nearest base location, she ordered. The Council thinks they can study us like lab rats. Time to show them what happens when the experiments fight back. The Shadowhawk vanished into the darkness of space, carrying its cargo of stolen data and unanswered questions. The first major battle of the war was over, but Lisa Moore knew this was just the beginning. Whatever the Council was hiding, they would find it. And when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. Susan Richardson brushed dust off the alien artifacts laid out on her research table. As Earth's leading Shen archaeologist, she had studied countless alien ruins, but these fragments were different. They had been recovered from a hidden vault beneath the Martian surface, sealed away for what appeared to be millions of years. Run the translation program again, she told her AI assistant. The symbols on the artifacts glowed softly under the lab's lights, pulsing with some kind of internal energy that hadn't faded despite their age. The door to her lab slid open, and Admiral Daniel Thompson walked in. His uniform showed signs of recent combat, and his face was grim. Please tell me you found something we can use, Dr. Richardson. We just lost contact with another colony. Susan held up one of the artifacts, a curved piece of metal covered in flowing script. These aren't Council technology, Admiral. They're much older. And according to these readings, they're talking about us. About humans. She brought up a holographic display showing her translation work. These artifacts were left by a species that called themselves the predecessors. They'd vanished millions of years ago, but before they did, they conducted experiments. Genetic experiments. On Earth. The Admiral leaned closer to examine the display. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Humans didn't evolve naturally, Susan said quietly. We were engineered. The predecessors were dying out, and they seeded multiple worlds with modified versions of their own genetic code. Earth was one of their test sites. She picked up another artifact, this one shaped like a disc. The Council knows this. They found this vault long ago, and they've been trying to prevent us from discovering the truth. Because we're not just another engineered species, we're the only one that survived. The only one that kept evolving. The Admiral's communicator buzzed. He checked it, and his frown deepened. The Council just issued an ultimatum. They're demanding we surrender all our colonies and restrict ourselves to the solar system. They're calling it a containment protocol. They're scared, Susan said. Look at this. She activated another hologram, showing a DNA strand. This is human DNA from 10,000 years ago, compared to modern humans. We're still changing, still advancing. The predecessors didn't just engineer us. They engineered us to keep evolving. A new alert sounded throughout the base. Admiral Thompson checked his display again. Multiple Council ships just appeared at the edge of the system. This is it. They're done waiting. Susan quickly gathered the most important artifacts. There's more in the vault on Mars. Data about what we're becoming, about what the predecessors intended. We need to get there before the Council does. I'll assign a task force, the Admiral said. But first, we need to launch Operation Starburst. If we're going to survive long enough to learn the truth, we need to show the Council we're not as weak as they think. He brought up a tactical display showing Earth's hidden fleet positions. Hundreds of ships that had been prepared in secret were about to reveal themselves. The Council thinks they know all our capabilities, he said with a slight smile. They don't know about the quantum shield technology, or the new weapons we've developed. They've been so focused on containing us that they haven't noticed how much we've advanced. Susan packed the artifacts carefully into a secure container. When does the operation begin? In 6 hours. Dr. Shaw's quantum shields will give us the element of surprise, but we'll only have one chance. While we engage their main fleet, I need you to get to Mars. Find what's in that vault. The base shook slightly as defense systems powered up. Through the lab's window, Susan could see ships rising from hidden hangars beneath the desert floor. One more thing, she said, handing the Admiral a datapad. According to these records, the predecessors left similar vaults on other worlds. If we can find them, we can prove to the galaxy what the Council has been hiding, he finished. Get your team ready, Doctor. When the fighting starts, you'll have your window. Hours later, Susan stood on the bridge of a small research vessel, watching Earth's fleet engage the Council ships. The battle was unlike anything in human military history. Ships using quantum shields to appear and disappear, new weapons that bypassed Council defenses, and tactics that seemed to confuse the alien commanders. They expected us to fight conventionally, her pilot said as they slipped past the battle lines. They don't understand that humans are at our best when we're improvising. The flight to Mars took less than an hour with their enhanced engines. The vault's entrance was hidden in a deep canyon, protected by ancient security systems that still functioned after millions of years. As her team worked to open the vault, Susan's thoughts turned to the missing colonists. If the Council knew about humanity's true origins, what were they doing with the people they'd taken? Were they trying to unlock the secrets of human evolution for themselves? The vault's doors finally opened, revealing a massive chamber filled with advanced technology and data storage systems. But what caught Susan's attention was a massive hologram in the center of the room, showing a galaxy-wide map. These are all predecessor sites, she breathed, studying the display. Hundreds of them. And these markings, there's some kind of timeline. Doctor, one of her team called out. We found something else. It looks like, well, you should see this. In a sealed room at the back of the vault, they found what looked like a stasis pod. Unlike the rest of the technology, this was clearly of Council design. And inside, a Council scientist, Susan said, checking the pod's readouts. They were studying something here, recently. The pod's data records told a disturbing story. The Council had been conducting their own experiments, trying to understand why humans continued to evolve, while their own species remained static. They had discovered something that terrified them enough to launch a war. Send this data to Admiral Thompson, Susan ordered. The Council isn't trying to contain us because they think we're dangerous. They're trying to contain us because we're proof that their entire civilization is stagnant. As if in response to her words, new alarms sounded. Council ships had broken through Earth's defenses and were heading toward Mars. Pack everything we can carry, she ordered her team. The Council wants to keep the truth hidden, but it's too late. The galaxy is about to learn why humanity scares them so much. Susan took one last look at the massive hologram before they evacuated. The predecessors hadn't just created humanity. They had created them to be their successors, to continue evolving and advancing where other species had stopped. Now the only question was, would humanity survive long enough to fulfill that destiny? As her ship lifted off from Mars, Susan clutched the container of artifacts. The Council had spent thousands of years trying to prevent this moment, trying to keep humanity from learning the truth about their origins and potential. That effort had just failed, and the real war, the war for humanity's future, was about to begin. Space lit up with weapons fire as Council ships approached Mars. But Earth's fleet was responding with unexpected strength, using their knowledge of the Council's technology against them. The time for hiding was over. Humanity had started to understand what they truly were, and the galaxy would never be the same. The massive Council chamber on Proxima Station felt different now. 3 empty seats marked where the Illurians, Nexari, and Vorith had broken away from the Council, choosing to side with humanity after the truth was revealed. Lieutenant Commander Paul Baker stood on the speaking platform, his voice steady as he addressed the remaining Council members. Behind him, holograms displayed the evidence that Dr. Richardson and her team had uncovered, proof of the predecessor's plan and the Council's long deception. "For thousands of years, you watched us," Paul said. "You tried to contain us, to prevent us from reaching our potential. But in doing so, you only made us stronger." The Zexthor leader's crystalline form shimmered with agitation. "You cannot understand the danger. The predecessor's experiments were banned for a reason. Uncontrolled evolution was exactly what they intended," Paul interrupted. "They saw that the galaxy was becoming stagnant. Every species had reached its peak and stopped advancing. They created humanity to break that pattern." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and protests. Paul waited for them to quiet before continuing. "We found more vaults. We know the full truth now. The predecessors didn't die out. They evolved beyond physical form, and they left us as their legacy, to follow our own path of evolution." He gestured to the latest battle reports displayed on the chamber walls. The war had lasted 3 months, and despite the Council's superior technology, they had failed to contain humanity's forces. "Your ships can't predict our tactics because we keep changing them. Your weapons can't penetrate our defenses because we keep improving them. Every attack makes us adapt and grow stronger." The Nexari representative, now sitting in the human section, stood to speak. "We have studied the data. The predecessors were right. The galaxy needs change to survive. That is why we choose to stand with humanity." Paul nodded in acknowledgement before turning back to the Council. "We don't want this war. We're offering peace, but not containment. Humanity will continue to grow and explore. We invite you to grow with us." A new hologram appeared. The missing colonists from New Haven and other settlements, recently rescued from Council research facilities. They were unchanged, their captors too afraid to experiment on them once they realized what the results might show. "Your own scientists have confirmed it," Paul continued. "Human neural patterns are becoming more complex. Our children are being born with abilities we don't yet understand. We're not just evolving physically. We're evolving in ways the predecessors themselves might not have predicted." The chamber was silent now. Even the most hostile Council members could no longer deny the evidence before them. "We offer you a choice," Paul said. "Continue this war, trying to contain something that cannot be contained, or join us in building a new future, one where evolution and change are embraced rather than feared." He smiled slightly. "And if you're worried about what we might become, well, that's exactly why you should work with us rather than against us." The Zexthor leader's crystalline form pulsed with colored lights, their version of intense thought. Finally, it spoke. "You ask us to overturn millions of years of stability, to embrace chaos and uncertainty. I ask you to live," Paul replied. "Real stability isn't about staying the same. It's about being strong enough to adapt to change." One by one, the Council members began to signal their agreement. Not all of them. Some would likely never accept humanity's role in the galaxy. But enough. The war that had been fought in shadows for centuries was finally ending in the light of truth. Later, in his private chamber, Paul contacted Earth. Dr. Richardson's face appeared on the screen, surrounded by artifacts from newly discovered predecessor vaults. "They agreed to the peace terms," he told her. "Most of them, anyway. We'll have to watch the holdouts. But with the Nexari and others on our side now, they won't risk starting the war again." Susan nodded. Good, because we're finding more revelations every day. The predecessors left us more than just technology. They left us a roadmap to our own evolution. We're just beginning to understand what we might become. Do you think we're ready for it? Paul asked. The council wasn't ready. That's why they tried to stop us. But humanity. We've spent our entire history adapting to new challenges. This is just the biggest one yet. The screen shifted to show a new set of readings, brain scans from human children born during the war. Their neural patterns were unlike anything seen before, showing signs of abilities that seemed almost like science fiction. The predecessors knew that evolution needs pressure to advance. Susan continued. The Council's attempts to contain us just created exactly the kind of pressure needed to speed up our development. In trying to prevent our evolution, they accidentally accelerated it. Paul looked out at the stars visible through his window. Somewhere out there, the predecessors were watching, perhaps waiting to see if their greatest experiment would succeed. So what happens now? He asked. Now, Susan smiled. Now we do what humans do best. We explore, we learn, we grow, and maybe someday we'll evolve enough to join the predecessors wherever they went. And the Council. They can come with us or stay behind, but they can't stop what's coming. The age of stagnation is over. The galaxy is about to remember how to change. As if to emphasize her words, a new star bloomed in the sky. Not a weapon or an explosion, but a quantum drive test, humanity's latest advancement in space travel. The light spread across space, a symbol of the changes to come. The war was over, but humanity's real journey was just beginning. They had fought for the right to evolve, to change, to become something new. Now they had to prove worthy of that right. Paul Baker, Earth's first representative to the reformed Galactic Council, watched the quantum drive light fade and smiled. Whatever humans would become, whatever challenges lay ahead, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. And that, after all, was exactly what the predecessors had intended.